There's this video on the internet of Jasna Hodžić climbing a mountain. It's a sheer rock face, and the video is taken from a distance, and you can see Jasna in a tiny figure making her way up this giant rock face, one movement at a time.
Every climb is different. Every climb is kind of a puzzle, and you, in your unique body, your size, your skill set, you're going to approach that puzzle differently from every other person.
And in the distance are these other dusty, tall rock outcroppings, and you can see that Jasna is pretty high up.
It's hard to explain if you don't go climbing, but it's almost like you're doing this dance.
Her ponytail is blowing in the wind as she steadily makes her way up this rock face.
It's elegant, but it's also very physical.
And now, oh my God, her hands are holding onto the surface of the mountain, but her legs sort of come loose for a second and are dangling off the side of the rock face. It's beautiful to watch, but also a little heart-stopping. And even when you look at a photo of Jasna climbing, you can see it's just Jasna on a rock that goes straight up, and she's holding on with her fingers. To look at this, Jasna is a picture of strength. She's a rock climber.
Avid, I guess is the word.
She's an athlete, a writer, a researcher. So when she found out that she had a condition called Female Athlete Triad,
I was just so shocked.
It came with no symptoms.
I was busy. I was a grad student. I just started my PhD program. I was biking all the time. I was climbing. I was engaging in a happy social life. I was fine. And so then to get this scan that shows up I'm crumbling from within.
As its name suggests, the triad in this syndrome has 3 elements. The first is menstrual dysfunction, no periods or irregular periods. The second is low energy availability, weight loss or extreme fatigue. And the third is osteoporosis,
which is something that very old people have. You shouldn't have that when you're 26 and healthy and such.
Osteoporosis is low bone density, and you find out whether you have this condition by taking something called a DEXA scan, which measures the mineral bone density in your body. Osteoporosis could lead to fractures and broken bones. Female Athlete Triad is now referred to by a different name, RED-S, which stands for Relative Energy Deficiency in Sport. And this term includes male athletes too, but this is not a condition that gets a lot of attention. So, on this episode of Overlooked, we're going to pay attention to it. Climber Jasna Hodžić tells us her story, and we learn what the syndrome is and why it should be taken seriously. And this is a listener-requested story. I love it when you guys write in and ask for a topic, and that is exactly what Kate Uptmor did. She listens to Overlooked from Georgia and has a story of her own.
By the time I was competing seriously, certain things were just background noise. Comments about weight, training through fatigue, periods that came and went or didn't come at all. No one framed any of it as a health concern. It was just the environment. So, finding out that these symptoms were clinically connected and that they could have lasting effects on bone health and long-term well-being was genuinely new information.
Stay tuned to the end of the episode to hear why Kate requested this topic. This is Overlooked, and I'm Golda Arthur. This is one person's story with Female Athlete Triad. And if you want a deeper dive on what this condition is, subscribe to my newsletter, which has more background and links and resources on this. We're back with Jasna Hodžić in just a minute. Hey everybody, I want to tell you about another podcast that I listen to regularly and that you might also enjoy. It's called The Wobbly Middle. The show spotlights women who have done bold things in their careers and who are creating new pathways for themselves in their 40s and beyond. We love a bold idea around here. You'll hear stories from women who have pivoted in their careers or returned after a break, built businesses, and finally taken their long-neglected dreams seriously. And we know that's hard, right? It's hosted by the fantastic Patsy Day, who talks to a really interesting variety of guests. Comedians, menopause doctors, psychologists, all women who changed direction in midlife. I always find the wobbly middle inspiring and reassuring. This show reignites a sense of possibility. And if you're in midlife and making hard decisions, I know you'll like this podcast too. Check it out, the Wobbly Middle Podcast. Listen and follow the show on your podcast app of choice. And now, back to my conversation with Jasna Hodžić. Jasna, hi and welcome to Overlooked. Thanks so much for making the time to talk to me today. Where does your story start with this, your personal story? Like, what was the first symptoms that started showing up with you, and what did you do about them?
My first symptom was losing my period, but I had no idea that it was a symptom because I had been on birth control for many years, the pill, and I just had always kind of had a light or non-existent bleed, and that's one of the great perks of the birth control pill, At least that's what it was sold to me as and what I thought it was. I simply went to my gynecologist because I was in grad school at the time and I had good health care and I went to get checked up. And she asked me when my last period was. I told her I hadn't had a period and I couldn't even name when. And she tested me and then found that my hormone levels were really low, which is indicative of a lot of other stuff. So honestly, if I had never met that doctor, I don't know how long it would have gone on. I don't know what my first real symptom would have been because that big one was masked.
And what did you think when she told you, okay, we've just done a hormone panel and here are the results? What was going through your mind?
It wasn't really until she recommended getting a bone density scan and those numbers came in that I was pretty scared and overwhelmed. But the hormone panel, for some reason, I don't know, probably because I was undereducated in women's health in general. I was like, well, that's probably bad, but it didn't seem that bad. I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about that bone density scan. Did you know what it was before she sent you for it?
Yeah, she explained it. She was a really great gynecologist. She said your hormone levels indicate that you're menopausal, basically. And I think I was 26 or 27, so obviously it shouldn't be menopausal. And low estrogen cycling in your blood could lead to bone density loss if it's chronic. So we're just going to check up on this. This is a DEXA scan, which does that. And it was a really easy procedure. I literally just lay down flat on a machine. It's almost like being in a big scanner. And then the head of the machine just takes these incremental scans.
So not a big deal in terms of the scan itself. But what did the results show you?
I remember reading it and the word osteopenia came up very quickly, which was like, it's just basically the precursor to osteoporosis, which is bad. That was like a red word in my mind. That scared me. And then I scrolled down to the results and it was, in my whole body, they split it up into sections. I was like 79%, meaning I had like a C+ in bone density for my age group. Basically, I was having bone density loss that, if continued, would lead to osteoporosis, which is irreversible bone loss and constantly breaking your bones and things like that, which is something that like very old people have. You shouldn't have that when you're 26 and healthy and such.
So that must have really taken you aback, right? Reading that report and just thinking, what the hell is going on here? What was going through your mind?
I was just so shocked because I felt fine. Like I was busy. I was a grad student. I just started my PhD program. I was biking all the time. I mean, later on I found out that maybe this was a lot, but I was biking all the time. I was climbing. I was engaging in a happy social life. I was fine. And so then to get this scan that shows up like I'm like crumbling from within was shocking and really scary, especially because I pride myself on, I enjoy being athletic. I participate in many sports. I identify as a strong, healthy person. And so then to not even have a single sign from my body, to get to that point without a sign. Later, I was told about how birth control affected everything, but I felt kind of betrayed in a way by my own situation and almost felt like embarrassed in a weird way. But I will say that I was lucky to have caught it, to have had such a good gynecologist, because she explained to me that I could still build bone and put me on a good path forward.
And you say you enjoy being athletic, and that's you being a little modest because you are an athlete. You are certainly an athlete, right? Like, tell me about climbing. Like, let's switch a little bit here. Tell me about climbing. Tell me about what you climb and how you enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I found rock climbing in my 20s in college, and then I think from 2013 on, I was pretty hooked. And so at that point, I was just training a lot, going to the gym all the time, enjoying that, and then trying to get outside climbing as much as I could. And And I still am. I'm a humble rock climber. I don't really feel like I'm anything special, but I was pushing myself, I guess, in terms of climbing grades at the time. It's just like the way I've constructed my life over the past 13 years really is to go climbing as much as I can outside. And as a result, yes, I've certainly maintained a level of athleticism because I just keep doing the thing that I love. I just like climbing so much. I just like where it takes me in the movement and the community. It's a very lovely thing to be a part of. But at that time, I was just getting kind of really amped. And so to get a DEXA scan like that also kind of felt like a threat to this thing that I was sort of falling in love with and this lifestyle that I really wanted to pursue. Like it felt extra scary for that reason too, because I was just so gung ho to go climbing all the time. And I just figured you can't really do that if you are developing osteopenia. I thought they would tell me to stop or I thought I saw it as more of a systemic threat to something that I really wanted to keep doing for the rest of my life at that time.
For someone like me, when I think about, you being an athlete, being a climber, and the kind of strength that physical strength that requires, osteopenia is like the last thing that you would imagine a climber would be diagnosed with, right? Like it doesn't seem to fit. There's a dissonance there.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I think it's a problem that a lot of female climbers have because of the intense weight to strength ratio of the sport, especially competition climbers, because climbing is a very weight specific sport. Like the lighter you are, unfortunately, it does kind of help to be somewhat light because you are literally pulling your body up the wall, right? And so that strength to weight ratio, it's really hard to get stronger, but it's a lot easier to get lighter. And so some people play with that ratio, they try to lose weight in order to get stronger, to improve that ratio. And it's a fine thing to do every now and then, but it's hard to manage just right. And I think a lot of climbers, men and women, they take it too far, especially if you're a competition climber and your career's on the line and things like that. And I think that there's actually talk right now. The International Federation of Sport Climbing, the IFSC, who runs these competitions worldwide, they're trying to include these gauges of red S in their scrutiny as to whether an athlete can or cannot perform because it's that big of a deal in these strength to ratio sports. It's just easy to go undetected. I never tried to play with that at all. Like I wasn't trying to intentionally underfuel and I still had this problem. It's not like I was going and I was starving myself or something or even ignoring hunger. I just was busy, and this still came up. You can still be deficient in energy and eat what you think is right. Unfortunately, it's just complicated.
Yeah, yeah. And so what did you do after that? What did the gynecologist tell you to do to deal with this? And what were the actions that you took, the interventions, as you say?
First, she took me off the pill for sure. She had me take a pill to force a period. I met with a nutritionist. We just chatted about diet, calories, things like that. And after, I was just eating like a lot. Like it was kind of funny. Like I know it sounds like a good problem to have, but sometimes you're just a little like overeating another shake or whatever. So I did that for 6 months, I think. And then I got another scan and the scan showed some improvement. And then she suggested that for birth control, I get IUD instead. It actually still lets your cycle go on versus the pill doesn't. I got a repeat DEXA scan once a year for several years until I think I was 30. And then I remember her signing off saying like, this is good. You're doing well. By the time I was 30, I got everything back up into the 90s bone density wise. So that was really great. Another thing that I forgot to mention that I probably should is that I was vegan at the time. I don't want to make it sound like it happened because I was vegan, but I do think it was probably easier for me to feel like I was fueling enough, but not feeling enough just because like the things you're eating aren't as dense, in certain calories and protein and stuff. I kept being a vegan for, I think, 1 or 2 years after. I remember the nutritionist told me, she's like, it's not a problem. Like, you just have to eat more. And then I switched back for other reasons. But Red S was in my calculations when I made the switch back. I was just didn't want to gamble with it. I felt like I was susceptible to potentially having it happen again since I couldn't really track it the first time.
Now this is like several years later from when this initial diagnosis came in, from when you like very suddenly had to learn all this stuff, right? About your body, about the syndrome, about estrogen, birth control, all of it. How do you look back on it?
I was pretty pissed off that no one ever told me when I got the pill that, it was always framed as, when I was growing up, I think I got the pill when I was 17 or something. It was always framed that, this is going to stop your period, and that's great. Who wouldn't want that, No one ever told me any of the downsides. Granted, I didn't think to ask, but I was 17 for, it's come on. It made me realize that doctors like the one I saw, like Elizabeth Nix, they're far and few between. I'd seen many other gynecologists between that period, and no one mentioned it. She was smart enough and perceptive enough in analyzing me to see that it couldn't be a thing. So since then, if something else comes up, I just feel like it's important to not just blindly trust, I guess, people, which is kind of a sad thing in a way. People are complex. Medicine is hard. I'm not trying to say that these people I saw in the past were bad doctors, but I do think that every individual has to kind of come at their healthcare with this self-advocacy lens. It's a shame, right? Because we just assume that the doctor should just know what's going to work and what should be told, but that's just not how it is, especially for women. The other thing about it with my body, I remember being upset and disappointed in myself almost, that how did it happen for so long, or she gets to this point and I didn't know about it? Was I just not in tune? Maybe I was really tired and I just wasn't, reading into it enough. How could I have not been perceptive enough to know that this was happening? But then, when it all reversed and I got back in the 90s and everything, I was damn, good job, body. You did your job. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that kind of did reframe my relationship, but just nourishing yourself and giving yourself what you need. And your body will do what's best if it has the resources available. It's up to you, unfortunately, to sometimes understand what those resources need to be, I guess.
What do you want other athletes to know, other climbers, other athletes to know about Red-S?
Just that if you even have a hunch, especially for women, if you even have an inkling of a hunch that this might be a thing, just get your hormones tested. If you're on birth control, it's totally worth it, because if I had found out even a couple years later, we might be having a different conversation. I might be totally, I have no idea what my bone density is now, but hopefully it's good. And I think it is good because all the markers that suggest that it would be bad aren't present. It is a relative energy deficiency, and I think that athletes are both more perceptive to their energy and less perceptive to their energy. More perceptive because obviously if you're a rock climber and you're doing your thing, you're out climbing, you're very in tune with how your body is moving, especially if you're a high level climber. It's just automatic, how you move, how you distribute your energy that you have in your body towards making movements, towards succeeding in this climb. Same with whatever sport it is. In the moment, I think that we're highly in tune, and some afterwards in recovery and before. But because we're so in love with our sports, maybe even addicted, it can be easy to overestimate maybe how much energy you have in a day, underestimate how much food you might need to eat, things like that. So I think that being really honest with yourself about those things, about how self-aware you are in that arena, is also an important conversation to have if you think this is going to be an issue for you. And I also do think that any female athlete between the ages of 20 to 26 should just get, unless you're having regular, consistent periods, you're not on birth control, just get checked out, because it's just so easy to check, but the consequences can be really dire if you don't get it checked.
Thank you so much again for sharing your story on Overlooked. And it's certainly been a way to kind of learn something new for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
This episode on Female Athlete Triad was requested by listener Kate Uptmor, who has a story of her own.
My name is Kate. I live in Georgia and I'm in my 20s. I was a competitive gymnast for most of my childhood and adolescence. I'm going to tell you a story about the Female Athlete Triad and how it transformed the way I think about women's health and who's responsible for protecting it. There was this one moment. I'll start there. I'm at my desk, junior year of high school, doing research for a class project. I come across the term Female Athlete Triad for the first time. I start reading. Low energy availability, menstrual irregularities, low bone density. And I realize I'm reading about things I've experienced, things my teammates experienced, things we never questioned because they just seemed like a part of the deal with gymnastics. The room is quiet. It's a normal day. Nothing dramatic. Just me reading and slowly understanding that there was a name for something we'd all just accepted. To understand why that hit the way it did. Gymnastics has a particular culture around bodies and performance. By the time I was competing seriously, certain things were just background noise. Comments about weight, training through fatigue, periods that came and went or didn't come at all. No one framed any of it as a health concern. It was just the environment. So, finding out that these symptoms were clinically connected and that they could have lasting effects on bone health and long-term well-being was genuinely new information. Not just for me, but for most of the people who had been around us for years. The thing I keep coming back to is how routine it all felt at the time. There wasn't one dramatic moment. It was just the accumulation of small things that no one named. Reading that research, I finished the project and moved on. But something stayed with me. This pretty simple question of who was supposed to know this and tell us. Coaches, trainers, doctors, parents. Somewhere in that chain, the information didn't make it to us. Looking back, I'm not angry about it the way I might have expected to be. I'm more struck by the gap between what was known medically and what actually reached us. The triad isn't something obscure. It's documented and it's studied. We just never heard about it. I think that says something about how women's health gets prioritized, especially for young athletes. The information existed, it just simply didn't find us.
Overlooked is here for information and empowerment, but not medical advice. Every person's body is unique, so if you have questions, it is best to speak to your doctor or healthcare provider. We're building a community around women's health so that no one is overlooked. If you'd like to be part of it, hit the follow button on this podcast, wherever you're listening to this. Or you can show us some love by writing us a review and sharing this episode with someone. Overlooked is written and created by me, Golda Arthur. Jessica Martinez de Hoz is the show's producer. You can stay up to date with the show by signing up for the newsletter and following us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We read every review and email, so write to us, hello@overlookedpod.com. Thanks for listening.